Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Victoria. It's a pleasure to see you here with us today and to have seen your faces on the screen as we were doing our meditation or after we were doing our meditation and as Darlene was blessing us with music today. It's lovely to have you here with us on this beautiful day where the sun is shining and it's feeling as if spring is really coming closer and closer to us. So I'd like to now invite Reverend Joanna to do our opening treatment this morning. Joanna?
So I invite you all now to know the power that lives within you. That power of love, of grace, of perfection. Power of the divine that is the essence of who you are. And as we get in touch with that power through prayer and meditation, as we nurture our relationship with the divine, with spirit, we know the truth of who we are. We are spirit, each of us, the divine God spark of spirit, living in this human form. But spirit is our essence. And knowing this, we know that we have always within us the power to change, the power to shift our thinking, the power to heal, the power to love, power to give, power to forgive. All of that is truly who we are. And so today, let us know this truth. Let us know it. Let us feel it. Let us live it. I give thanks for the power of this teaching. I give thanks for this community and for our ministers and for all those who help make this community possible. I give thanks for this day. I release my word to spirit, to the law, knowing it is so, and so it is.
Thank you so much, Joanna. And now we're in for another musical treat from our beloved Darlene.
Thank you, Carrie. This song is called I Am Open. I am open to the possibility. I am open to the possibility of a life that is meant to be lived by me. I don't have all the answers now, but I'm willing to take it slow. I believe that something is calling me where the path will lead. I don't know, but I am open to the possibility. I am open to the possibility of a life that is meant to be lived by me. There's an open road as far as I can see, and my heart will lead the way. Step by step through the mystery, I surrender every day. But I am open to the possibility. I am open to the possibility. I am open.
Oh, thank you, Darlene. So as we go into this morning, let us be open to the possibility, and let us be open to greater possibilities in our lives. That happens to be the title for my talk today. And I am using throughout the month of February, at least, perhaps a bit longer, the book, A New Design for Living, which was written by Dr. Ernest Holmes. Just kind of holding it up here so you can have a look at it. It's available on Amazon. I think it's around $15. And if you have Prime, you'll have it in a couple of days if you wish to. And Reverend Joanna is going to do a book study on this a little bit later on too, because I kind of scratch the surface of it when I'm speaking on Sundays. But to really go in depth, reading that book and also studying it together is a great thing to do. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the date. So this morning I'm actually dealing with the chapter called Great Possibilities, which is in the book. And I want to start by just reading to you something that Dr. Holmes wrote that is really relevant to this. The purpose of our lives is to live life. Do not shy away from it, or be fearful of it, or deprive yourselves of full expression. The sooner we come to realize the full nature of life, the sooner we will be able to accept and experience its innate goodness in all that we are and in all that we do. Our lives are what we make them, thought by thought, and herein lies the possibility to express creativity and partake of the divinity that is in the center of us. Again, that line. Our lives are what we make of them, thought by thought, and herein lies the possibility to express creatively. And so what he's really saying here is that we need to be focused upon the possibilities of what can be, the good that can be, rather than being fussing about what happened yesterday, the day before, 10 minutes ago, or what's happened ever in our lifetime. You know, it's really an interesting thing to understand the vastness of God, the vastness of spirit. And that there's an astronomer, a Swedish astronomer named Stromberg, as I recall, and Gustav Stromberg, and he wrote much about this subject. And what he said was, when the physical world of space, time, and energy was yet unborn, think about that. No space, no time, and energy. When it was not yet born, something far more important existed. This was mind, cosmic mind, or world soul, which was and is the source of all things physical, as well as the ultimate origin of our minds. Now, when you think about that, when you think about before there was this earth, before there was this star system created by our sun, or created around our sun, before there was the Milky Way galaxy, before there were the other, billions of galaxies and hundreds of trillions of stars that are ever and ever expanding, which is in itself difficult to comprehend for me anyway. But But what I have always been challenged with is thinking about when there was nothing physical to be seen, absolutely nothing in the universe that we could see, only energy. And that energy is the vast intelligent, the spirit, the mind of God. Um, Puts my brain in a twist still, because I think, well, where did it come from? I'm still looking for where did that come from? But when we about it, when we think that there was this enormous, vast intelligence before there was anything else, and then something began to take form, and there was this big bang that exploded into the stars, into the cosmos, and is continuing to explode, or is continuing to grow and to move and to keep creating. It is mind-boggling. We can only attribute this to a higher intelligence, whether or not, like me, you can really understand where there appeared to be nothing, but there was the energy and the intelligence. Just reminded me of years ago, I read Ellen DeGeneres wrote, in the beginning there was nothing, but God created light. There was still nothing, but at least you could see it. And it's kind of like, looking at the wonder of it all. Um, and since we can't typically comprehend this or go back to it, Dr. Holmes says when we're trying to do that, we're in our intellect, we are in our physical selves, and he says we have to move beyond the physical. We have to completely align with the presence of God. And when we do that in prayer, when we do that in meditation, when we do it just sitting contemplating the beautiful flowers that are beginning to open up, or the face of a lovely baby, or all of the wonders of nature. When we do those things and get our brains out of the way, our minds out of the way, and when we are completely aligned with God in our heart center, which is where we feel this, we go into our feeling nature. And that's when we really know this intelligence. That's when we really know that it exists. Whether or not we can understand how it can be invisible and how it could have been completely invisible in the beginning with nothing else there, that doesn't matter. The important thing is that we know that it is within us. We know that we can use it, and we can use it to create better lives. We need to remember that we're so much greater than our thoughts. We're so much greater than our breath. We're so much greater than our physical form. We have these are the things that in which we individualize God. We each have our own physical presence here on this planet. But those are the physical attributes. We're so much bigger than that physical. We are spirit having a human experience. I know that you all know that. We're spirit having a human experience. Believe it. Have faith in this. Because this is where we begin to create lives of greater possibilities, of great possibilities. And in each of Dr. Holmes' books, he talks about the law of cause and effect. Basically, it's fundamental to our teaching that for every effect there is a cause, and there are all kinds of universal laws. We don't mistrust the law of gravity. We know that if we pick something up and drop it, it's going to fall down. It's not going to fall. Well, maybe if it's a ball, it'll bounce up, but it'll come back down again. But it is a universal law. It's something that we understand because we can demonstrate it, because we can prove it. And the thing is that we're already demonstrating it in our lives. We're demonstrating it with our thoughts. And so we have to really understand that our thought system, our belief system, has brought us to where we are today. As Marianne Williamson said, and I think, but I'm not positive, that it is an expression from Alcoholics Anonymous, your best thinking got you here. Your best thinking got you to where you are today. That can sometimes be a scary thought if we don't really like where we are today. But also, it's a reminder that we have the opportunity to do things in a really different way. You know, it's kind of like the thoughts that we have are like seeds. And it's this time of year, it's lovely to think about seeds and about bulbs in the ground because we're starting to see the results of those. We're starting to see the manifestation of them. And just, you know, think about the miracle of a seed or of seeds. You know, how, you know, a petunia knows to be a petunia and not a bean. How a crocus knows to be a crocus and not a tomato. I mean, there is this intelligence in every seed, in every bulb, in everything, and how each of them knows under certain conditions how to grow. It is built into them. It's innate. It's what Jean Houston, the great anthropologist, calls entelechy. There is this intelligence in everyone and everything that tells it what it is and how to grow. You know, and think about it as humans. You know, we grow from an egg in our mother's wombs, and you know, into a fetus, into a baby that is born into this world and then grows into whomever we are. You know, it's a blooming miracle to think about it. I did have to laugh when I was thinking about this yesterday because there's the old chicken and egg joke, you know, which came first, the chicken or the egg, which we've never been able to figure out. Well, which came first, the egg or the human? It's the same kind of thing. These are brain twisters. We don't really know, but we know. But what we do know is that it happens, and we also know that we are the product of our circumstances. I almost said victim, and that's not at all what I meant to say. We are the product of our circumstances, the product of our thinking, the product of our belief systems. You know, and here we are with this massive, massive intelligence to create. But the thing is, we need to believe it. We really need to believe it. We need to have faith, total faith, that it is there. And the more that we practice this, the more that we come into alignment with it, and the more that we feel it within us. You know, and Dr. Holmes says we have to stop worrying. You know, we have to stop fussing about everything. We need to surrender. You know, it will be better or worse. Our lives will be better or worse, depending upon how we think they will be. So, pretty important to understand the importance of our thoughts and to think about cause and effect. And this all begins at birth. We are starting to create our stories the moment that we're born. Now, I didn't think a whole lot about this until the last number of years, I guess. And I'm not sure if I've told this story before. I know I have in class. But my little granddaughter, Sadie, when she was 2.5, I was in Switzerland where she lived. My daughter and my family lived in Zurich. And Sadie wanted to go to a park in a little town called Zumikon, where her mother used to take her sometimes. And it was a couple of train rides away. And so I took her into Zumikon, and there was a little swing set and slide and so on. And she wanted to swing. And she got onto the swing, and I went to push her, and she said, I can do it. And she started to pump, you know, the way that we learned to do when we were little kids. And then she started to sing. And she sang, I didn't know at the time it was an ABBA song, but she started to sing a song, and she was singing the words, hands up, baby, baby, hands up. Give me your heart. Uh, give me your heart. And I thought, that is so sweet. Where did, you know, I'd never heard her sing before, and I thought, where did she learn that? Anyway, when I took her home, I mentioned it to her mom. And her mom said, yeah, it's the strangest thing. She said, we've never listened to that. She said, it is an ABBA song, but she said, we've never listened to it. And, you know, it's not been on the radio. You know, we don't have a CD with it on. We don't know where it came from. And when I came back to Canada, I was telling my partner about it. And I said, you know, it's the strangest thing. That where would that come from out of seemingly nowhere? And he really choked up and he said that was Jessie's favorite song when she was in Europe. And Jessie was a nanny to my granddaughter for the first 3 months of her life. And then Jessie went on to do other things. And she was only 19 and she was killed in a car accident shortly after she came back to Canada, which, so I was never able to talk to Jessie about it. But the remarkable thing was that for the first 3 months of her life, Sadie heard the song, Hands Up, Baby, Baby. And then this was brought back to me just in the last couple of weeks when my daughter sent me a digitized version of a video that was shot when Sadie was 2.5 and her new baby sister was born. And there's a picture of my daughter sitting on the couch and new baby Jemima was just lying on the couch, and Sadie had Jemima's hands and was clapping them together and singing, "Hands up, baby, baby, hands up. Give me your heart, give me your heart." And over again. And we realized that that was the way that Jessie must have sung to her. She must have clapped her hands together as she was singing to her. Well, and then, it was natural for Sadie to pass that along to her baby sister. I mean, isn't it remarkable to think that as infants, we're storing up all of that information in our subconscious. We don't know when it's going to come out later in life or what it's going to manifest as later in life. And that's why it is so important for us to be absolutely conscious of what we're doing, conscious of our thinking, and knowing that from the first breath, we're creating stories. You know, for new possibilities in our lives, we need to claim our past or we need to release it. If there are negative things, if there are things in our lives that we don't like right now, if there's, and trust me, if there's somebody who's upsetting you along the way, and I'm speaking to myself here as well, if they're triggering you in some way, it's because of something else that has triggered you in the past, something that has been growing. I mean, we can forgive anything if we can just allow ourselves to let go of what we really want to hang on to. And I might say, oh, I don't want to hang on to that. I don't like that feeling. I don't want it. But am I really ready to forgive? Am I really ready to release it? Am I really ready to let it go? That's the question. And Dr. Holmes says, we got to let it go. If we want a new design for living, if we want to create fabulous lives in whatever years we have left, then we need to let go of those remnants from the past, those things that are perhaps affecting us in a way that isn't quite so positive today. Dr. Holmes said, tap into that power. And don't just say that you've got it, know that you've got it and prove it. I love that he said, scientists have their noses, their heads in books for years and years and years. There's all kinds of theory. But comes the day they have to put the books aside and go into the lab and prove what they have been studying. And so he basically said, that's what we need to do. We need to go into the own laboratories of our lives and start proving this. Not just say, oh yeah, I know that, I've read that, yeah, I hear that a lot. But instead, start proving it. Start focusing upon what it is that we really desire our lives to be. We want peace, we want happiness, we want love, we want joy, we want good health, we want good relationships, friendships. We want to do the kind of work we love to do. So let us keep those visions in our minds and not be saying, well, it hasn't happened yet. I don't have it. I may never have it. I don't have enough time to do that kind of thing. Dr. Holmes said, God can only do for us what it can do through us. Can only do for us what it can do through us. Not somewhere over there, some external God who's going to suddenly deliver to us one day the new house or the new car or whatever. But we're sitting around, distant from that God. No, God can only do for us what it can do through us. And what it can do through us is whatever it says yes to, and whatever it says yes to is what our deepest belief systems are. So it's time to really do a check on that, to do the inventory on our thoughts, to do the inventory on our belief systems. You know, this creation of this creation of whatever is going on in our lives. Thomas Tord called it the law of correspondence. And Dr. Holmes calls it the law of correspondence as well. But Thomas Tord had a huge influence over his work. And basically that means that whatever we're manifesting in our life corresponds according to our thoughts. And so, when we think about it, wow, hard work, monitoring our thoughts and focusing on good things only. Um, looking at our minds, what's going on in our minds, thinking about our vibrations, investigating all of our belief systems. It's kind of like we need a whole staff to do that. And Dr. Holmes says no. He said, don't sit around all day thinking about this. Because he said, if we do that, we're going to be exhausted. We need to avoid that. If we're designing a new life, it's not about labor. It's not about will. If it is, then we're lacking spontaneity in our lives. We're not trusting the goodness of God. We're not trusting the power of the universe to do things differently. If we've got lists and lists and lists and lists and don't move beyond whatever is on the list and don't do anything spontaneously, we need to have another look at what we're doing with our lives, because we're perhaps overthinking, overdoing, and it burdens us. Dr. Holmes says it then becomes a burden. And an example that he uses and that I've used in my own life is with affirmations. I remember years ago, a spiritual speaker, I think it was Mike Dooley, and this was probably about 15 years ago. I was attending one of his lectures, and he said what we needed to do was, for that day, was to create an affirmation for what it was that we wanted to create in our lives. And he said, repeat that affirmation. He said, in writing, handwriting, 100 times in writing, 3 times each day. And I thought, oh yeah. Anyway, I started, and I lasted for 3 days. Not only was it exhausting, but it was boring. And so I discovered that what I was doing was I was putting negative energy on the affirmation because I was disliking doing the process so much. It's okay. I mean, when we're doing our prayers, we do an affirmation in each prayer that we do. The third step of prayer is the realization, I am healthy, I am prosperous. What was it? What is it? Edwene Gaines said that I love so much. I'm on top of the world. I got money in the bank, and everybody loves me. What a great affirmation, And that was the way that she started every workshop that she ever did, and is still doing. When we have, that just gives me joy in my heart to think about that. But if I'm doing a prayer and then that becomes my affirmation, and it would be in the I am, in the present tense, we don't say I want it to be, because then we're left wanting. We say, I have this, I am this. It's really, really important to remember that, because otherwise we're just not really in true faith, in true believing. We need to see it. We need to see it. Wayne Dyer, what was the name of his book? When you see it, when you believe it, you will see it. So we need to believe it's done, and then we will begin to see it when we don't take our focus away from that. So we don't have to make it hard work. We don't have to sit around all day thinking about it. We're experimenting with the greatest principle ever discovered. And there's no big or little in the mind of God. There's no judgment. There isn't this old man sitting out there thinking, whew, that's way too big. I'm not giving her a house on the ocean. I'm not giving her a car. I'm not giving her a relationship. Whew, you know, sure, I'll let her have a parking spot. It's not like that at all. It happens according to what we believe. And how many of you always get your parking spots? You know, for years. I mean, that was, I think, was the first thing that I was conscious of that I was manifesting. I could always get my parking spot, no matter when I arrived anywhere. Dr. Holmes called it Doris Day parking. Doris Day was a member of his, he didn't call it a congregation at the time. He was speaking to 3,000 people every Wednesday night in Beverly Hills, and Doris Day was one of the people who attended, and she always said to him, "I always get my parking spot." So he started to call it Doris Day parking, and I kind of love to do it too. Although we may need to upgrade that a bit and to make it more contemporary. There are a lot of people now who probably don't remember who she was. But the thing is, there are things that we're manifesting, little things perhaps that are good, but there is no difference between big and small. That's where we have to get our minds out of limitation and lack. It is possible to have everything big in our lives that we want, provided we believe it to be so. And when we focus upon that and keep focused upon it and don't say, oh, it hasn't happened yet. When will it ever happen? Uh, you know, it, uh, the crocus isn't blooming yet, but the little green leaves are above the ground. I think I'll pull it up and just see what's going on there. Are there any roots? Which doesn't do any good at all to the growth of the crocus. It's the same thing for us. When we start questioning, when we start wondering, will it ever happen? It's not going to happen. See it done now. There's a quote of Dr. Holmes that I want to share with you that is also from this book. Um, Dr. Holmes reminds us that what we are doing is experimenting, as I said, with the greatest principle ever discovered, which even though it is infinite, it is personal to each of us. It is infinite, but personal to each of us because we are individualized expressions of God. It knows neither big nor little, hard nor easy. It doesn't judge. It will flow with equal force and power through the use that we make of it. When we begin to use the idea of cause and effect and start experimenting with the relationship between thoughts and experience, it will not be long before we validate this. I've shared before that when I am teaching a new class, particularly if it's a beginner's class in Science of Mind, I always give my students a thick elastic band to wear around their wrists for the first week or two. And then I ask them to set the alarm on or the timer on their stove, or now it would be on the cell phone, or wherever you happen to have a timer. Maybe set it for an hour later or 45 minutes later, whatever. But when that timer goes off, stop and ask yourself, what is it I'm thinking? What am I doing? What am I feeling? And if it's negative, and I've done this myself, pull the band and let it snap back against your wrist, and it hurts. And it's amazing how pain can really get us out of believing negative things. Typically, a week is good enough that the elastic band can come off because we're much more conscious of what it is we're thinking and what it is we're feeling and what it is that we're believing. And so, if you're feeling as if you've kind of lost it a bit, because we do get it and lose it, put on the elastic band again and start and do that as an exercise. It's really amazing how often we catch ourselves one way or the other. And when you start seeing that, you're monitoring your thoughts, and not only are you monitoring them, you are controlling them. That's what it's really all about. The thing to remember is that we have control of our thoughts. absolute control. And whatever it is that we are thinking or saying or doing, we can change if we need to. And that's what we need to decide. Are we really willing to let go of limitation and lack? Are we willing to release things that are not comfortable in our lives? Or do we have some kind of attachment to them? Well, my mother said, so it must be true. My teachers said, that must be true. Not necessarily so. Dr. Holmes said the truth lives within each one of us. Thing is, we don't get there typically through our minds. We get there through our hearts. And to get there through our hearts, we need to be in silence. Well, I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm really a busy person. I've got this to do and that to do, especially today. What we have to do is carve out the time. 15 minutes to start with. 15 minutes of silence, of monitoring our thoughts and beliefs, but in that silence, allowing ourselves to just go into a deeper place, allow the thoughts to go by, don't dwell on them, don't think more about them, don't start adding dates and times to them, don't be putting them on a calendar, don't think about what year they happened, just let them drift past. And it won't be long before you're able to get into that meditative state, and probably most of you are doing that already. But it's just a reminder. We always have enough time. I will make myself late, not deliberately, but if I need to take a few more minutes in meditation, I will say, well, if I'm late, I'm late. Typically, I'm not late. Traffic opens up and whatever, I get through faster. But it is such an important part of our lives. It's as important as breathing, as our heartbeats, it's as important as what we're eating, as exercise, as anything else and everything else that we're doing in our lives. And we don't have to wait. We don't have to sign up for anything. We don't have to go to the spiritual gymnasium somewhere down the street every day. Instead, right where we are, right here and right now, we can make that choice. We can get our limited selves out of the way. We have control. So let us start today. Let us make the time. Know that you are a vessel of infinite potential and of great possibilities. I'm going to be dealing with this subject again in the next few weeks, so stay tuned. And so it is. And thank you for being with us today. If you would care to make a donation to our center, we would appreciate it very much, because our expenses continue even when we're not in our physical plant, although we expect to be back there very soon. Stay tuned for that as well. And if you'd like to make a donation, you can go to our website at www.cslvictoria.org, or you can send and then click on the donate button. And you can either send by PayPal or credit card or debit card that way. Or if you want to make it easy on yourself, you can send an e-transfer if you do online banking. And the e-transfer can go to donate@cslvictoria.org. And you will receive a tax receipt for that at the end of each year. Our tax receipts typically come out in February, so you'll be getting yours for this past year fairly soon. So thank you. Thank you for listening today. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for the gifts that you give to us through your time, talent, and treasure. And I would now like to invite Reverend Jennifer to do our closing treatment today. Jennifer has joined us. I can see you.
Join with me as I go within, basking in the wisdom of Reverend Carrie in her talk today. These thoughts and ideas and these truths that you shared, they resonate deep within us. Know that the source of her wisdom that she draws on so beautifully is the omniscience of the divine within her. The same omniscience that is within each and every one. As we embrace this wisdom in this next week, pausing in moments, reflect on what are we thinking about? And if it isn't for greater possibilities, gently change your mind. It's as easy as that. And as profound as that. So the loving heart, embracing this truth, I release my prayer, my benediction, my release of this service in the hands of Spirit, and know that it is done. Thank you, God. So
And so it is. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us today and for joining in this service. We'll keep you updated about when we're going to be back in person. And I just bless you all. Bless you as you go into this week ahead, trusting that, you know, there are new possibilities, great possibilities, and that you're just tapping into all of them. And have a wonderful, wonderful week. I bless you all, and I love you all, and know that you are each an expression of love itself. It is infinite, and let's just spread it around, and so it is. See you next week.